Alright, so this video will focus on Chapter 5, Section 1. And the first thing I want you to do before you get too far along is to go through and graph out all of these various equations. So I'm going to pause the video and I want you to try to do it. Remember, what is the starting point? And then what is the slope? And what exactly does that mean? Alright, so I know it probably took you a little bit of time to actually graph all of these out. So let's go through and see if you got them right. So here's the first one. Of course, it crosses the y-axis at the -2. It goes up 1 and over 2, up 1 and over 2, based on this graph. This one here, the starting point is 3, and I go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or I could go up 3 and to the left 4. Next one is the starting point is +1, and I go down 2 and over 1, down 2 and over 1. This one here, the starting point is -7. I'm going to go up 3, so 1, 2, 3 over 1. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1. This one here, the starting point is -4. I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3. And then finally this one here is the starting point of 5. I'm going to go down 1 and over to the right 5. So I start at 5, I go down 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how could you solve a system of linear equations? That's what we're going to be doing today. And basically what that means is, how do you set two equations equal to each other? So let's look at a scenario where we might want to do this. Imagine that you work with, that your family starts a bed and breakfast, and it spends $500 fixing up a bedroom to rent, and the cost for food and utilities is $10 per night. And then your family charges $60 per night to rent the room. So I'm actually having two equations here. The first equation I'm going to have is y equals, my food is $10, so 10x, plus $500. That's the first thing, right? That's what it costs to fix up and everything. The second one is y equals, and this is my revenue essentially. So this would be y equals $60 a night, so 60x. And basically what I have to do here is I want to set these equal to each other. So let me show you how you do that. You notice they're both equal to y. So if I know y equals 60x, I can plug this in for y. Vice versa, I know that y equals 10x plus 500. I can set this value in for y. So we're just going to substitute one of these values. So I'm going to do 60x equals 10x plus 500. And I want to solve for x. So you're going to first of all go through and box your coefficients. I want to get them to the same side. So I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to say minus 10x, minus 10x, and I'll have 50x equals 500. And I have, of course, to do the multiplicative inverse, which is 1 over 50, to both sides. So x equals 10. Now, what does this mean? I plug in, so I have 10. Well, if I plug this in, 60, let's just write this out, 60 times 10 equals 600. And if I do it up here, 10 times 10 plus 500, this of course is 100 plus 100, or plus 500 equals 600. So at 10, these are equal to each other. So basically, if this is my cost, and this is my revenue, this is where I make money, I don't make any money until I get to 10 nights. So for the first 10 nights, I'm just recouping this cost. But anything over 10 nights, I'm going to start making a profit. And that's what this whole thing is about. So we're going to now go to this one here, and we can start putting these in. Of course, I have my two equations. So for this one here, I plug in a 0. I'm going to have 0 times 10 is 0 plus 500 is 500. And my revenue is going to be 0. I make nothing on 0 nights. For one night, I make 510, or it costs me 510. And for this, it costs me 60. Or that's what I make. So it costs 510, but I make 60. Not good yet. And I keep on doing this until I get to 10, which we said before is equal to 600, right? So 600 and 600. This is where the break even is. So everything before this point, it is going to cost more than I make. But finally at 10, I'm going to break even. At 11, I'm going to have 110 plus 500, which equals 610, right? So I'll put that down, 610. And for this one, I'm going to plug in 60 times 11, which equals 660. So I finally make a profit of $50. So it says here, how many nights does it take your family to rent the bedroom before breaking even? Well, it takes 10 nights. And after 10 nights, I start making money. Now it asks me to go out and graph this. So I'm going to have my two equations. So let me just write these down here. And I'm just going to quickly do this Desmos. And of course, you can use Desmos. I recommend that you graph a little bit because on the test you will have to graph. But y equals 10x plus 50. I'm sorry, plus 500. And the other one is y equals 60x. And I'm going to zoom in because it's hard to tell right now. Maybe I'll zoom out. And we're going to see these two lines. So I have this line here and the blue line. And where they intersect is at 10. And at 10, 600, that's where the points cross. And that's what we're solving for. Whenever I set this up, I'm actually solving to find out when the two intersect. And it intersects, I said, at 10. So that is my actual answer. All right, so then the next one. All right, so this one we're going to do the exact same thing that we did here, where it says use a table. I mean, technically you're not supposed to do this solving equation thing yet. I think it's the most efficient way. What you're supposed to do is go through and make a table. So I'd do like 0. If I plug in a 0 here, I get 100. And if I plug in a 0 here, I get 0. And I keep on doing this until I find the break-even point. You could do that, or you could set them equal to each other. It's up to you how you do it. If I do this, my table will say at 2, they're both equal to 130. This one here will say at 5, they're both equal to 80. This one here will say at 4, they're both equal to 180. This will say at 3, they're both equal to 45. This one will say at 6, they're both equal to 72. And this one here will say at 4, they're both equal to 50. So here I have this here, and it says solve the system by graphing. So I'm going to use Desmos again. Again, on a test, you'll actually have to graph these out, so make sure you know how to graph. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask. But for speed, I'm just going to go through and put these in. So I'll say y equals 2x plus 5. And I'll say that next one is y equals negative 4x minus 1. And if you look here, I have my two equations. Again, one is a negative slope because it's a negative slope. And one is a positive slope because it says positive 2x. And if I look here, the point where they intersect is at negative 1 and 3. So that's where the points will be even. They're both equal 3 if I plug in a negative 1 for x. And here is my actual answer, negative 1 and 3. So a second one is this one here. So it says again by graphing. So go in there and just plug in y equals x minus 1. And the second one is y equals negative x plus 3. Again, I look for the point of intersection. This one is 0, 3. If I plug in a 0, let me just make sure I did this right. I think I have it in the wrong spot. Let me just double check something. Let me zoom in. Yeah, they're both wrong. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So let me declick these. So the point of intersection when I zoom in is right here, right? And it's at 2, 1. So if I plug in a 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. And negative 2 plus 3 is also 1. So that's my ordered pair where the intersection occurs. My second one that I want to do is y equals negative 5x plus 14. And, oops, equals. And y equals x minus 10. And so I have to zoom out here, or scroll down. It looks like my intersection here is negative 6 and, no, it's negative 6 and 16. So let's just see what I did wrong here, because this is not the ordered pair that I have. it looks like I have to zoom in. So if I go here, let's just make sure. Oh, look, this is negative 5x plus 14, and this is a positive 5x. So this is important. So let's zoom out now. So here's my ordered pair, 4, negative 6, which is what I have here. And then finally, the last one I'm going to do is just this y equals x, which is 1 over 1, right? And the second one is y equals 2x plus 1. And I have a lot of points here. Let's zoom in. So it's really important to zoom in because these lines all look like they're the one, but it's where they cross. So it's at negative 1, 1, which is what I have here. Negative 1, negative 1. So then for this one here, this is where we actually have to start using the information that we have. And I'm going to do 3 different screens here. And the first one says, a football kicker team scores 1 point for making extra points and 3 points for making a field goal. The kicker makes a total of 8 extra points. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up 2 equations. I'm going to say x plus y equals 8. Because I don't care what they are. I just know they scored a total of 8 extra points, right? Now it says that the kicker in field goals in the game and scores 12 points. And it says 3 points for the field goal and 1 point for the extra point. So I have to have x plus 3y equals 12. Let's just explain what this all means. So first of all, I kick regular kicks after the touchdown and 3-pointers or field goals. And altogether I make 8 different kicks of all kind. That's what it's saying. But then I have to figure out this one, which is I have my 1 point after or my field goals. And altogether, when I do that, I get 12. So this is my system of equations that I have set up. So I'm going to graph these 2 things. So I'm going to go through here. And I'm going to say x plus y equals 8. And my other one is x plus 3y equals 12. Now, of course, the way that we graph these out is what we've learned in chapter 4, where you set, let's say, when x is 0, y is 8. And then when y is 0, x is 8. And let's just look at what that looks like here. So let me zoom out. And these are my axes. So if I look here, so here's the y-axis, or y-intercept, and the x-intercept. Those are my 8, 0, and 0, 8 I was talking about. And if I set this equal to 0, then I have 3y equals 12, so it would be 0 and 4. So that's where I get 0, 4. And then this one here is if I plug this as 0, this becomes 12, right? So that's why I have 12, 0 over here. And my point of intersection is this right here. So 6 and 2. What does that mean? It means I make 6 1-pointers and 2 3-pointers. So that's the solution to my equation. I'm going to make, again, 6 of these 1-pointers and 2 field goals. And if I plug that in, 6 plus, and then 3 times 3 is 9. So I have 9 plus, 2 times 3, I'm sorry, is 6. And then 6 plus 6 equals 12. So that's how they both work. All right, and then finally I have 2 more that I want to graph out. So graph these 2 things and then solve them. Same with this one. And I'll pause the video for a moment. And hopefully your answers are negative 3, 5, negative 2, negative 7, 4, negative 8. And then here is this one. I'm sorry, I skipped it before I went to it. But I have my x plus y equals 7 because there's 7 extra points. And then I have my field goal and my extra point. That's why I have the 1x plus 3y equals 17. I solve these, or I set them up on a graph, and I get 2, 5, which means 2 extra points, and 5 field goals, because the y is the field goal. And that